Look at where to get your flu shot, the Jefferson Butterfly Garden, and catch up on the latest entertainment news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Daily O. I'm Trent Gibbs. Let's get into our show. We're quickly approaching flu season, and Yvonne Wong tells us how to get a flu shot at OSU.
Just like every year, the University Health Services are giving out flu shots. With the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, you definitely do not want to have both diseases at the same time.
This year, the vaccine is given in an outdoor space for better social distancing due to COVID-19. You can either line up on the lawn or you can drive up to get vaccine without leaving your car. Pamela Stokes, the Associate Director of University Health Services, tells us why it is important to get a flu shot.
So healthcare providers want everyone to get their flu shot this year for several reasons. The first is we want you to take care of yourself, and we don't want you to get the flu and then a couple weeks later you've got COVID and it's really hard on your body. So we want you to take care of yourself. But the other reason is because they could look the same, right? So we want to get rid of flu as much as possible, prevent the flu as much as possible, so that we can really focus on keeping people well and not mistake COVID-19 for the flu or the flu for COVID-19.
OSU students can get the flu shots for free. Insurance claims will be filed for faculty and staff. Christy Hawkins, an OSU staff member, said that she has never gotten a flu shot before, but she decided to take it this year.
Because of COVID, that flu shots are really important, and so I wanted to do everything I can to stay healthy and keep others healthy.
Charith Silva, a graduate student from the physics department, has taken his flu shot every year.
I would definitely recommend my friends and family to get a flu shot. You know, with everything going on, it's better to be safe than sorry, you know? And I mean, it's pretty fast and easy. I was only in line for like 10 minutes.
The flu shots are available every Thursday in October from 1 to 5 at the University Health Services. No appointment is necessary. But if you missed it in October, you might still be able to get the vaccine.
Yeah, so we'll continue to give flu shots as long as we have the supply. Right now our supply looks really good. So even after October, you can come in. It's still free the entire flu season. We're never going to charge students. Faculty and staff are never going to pay anything out of their pocket. The Blue Cross Blue Shield plan pays for that. So you can walk in, you can give us a call, you can make an online appointment if you can't make it to one of those Thursdays, and we give it up until we run out, which is usually sometime in February.
So if you haven't already, you definitely should get your flu shot next Thursday at the University Health Center. For the Daily O, I am Yvonne Wong.
Thanks, Yvonne. You can head to University Health Services to get your flu shot on Thursdays with no appointment necessary. The Jefferson Butterfly Garden, located at a local Tulsa elementary school, is giving students an interactive way to learn. Braden Harper has the story.
Monarch butterflies travel up to 3,000 miles every year in order to migrate to warmer climates. Thanks to Lisa Harper, they have a place to rest their wings in Tulsa.
Thomas Jefferson Elementary is a Union public school located in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like many schools in the state, it is staffed by educators who use their talents to serve the students in their community. Reading specialist Lisa Harper uses her talents in the garden.
I find it very relaxing. I find it rewarding, being able to come out and see kind of the benefits of your efforts.
Mrs. Harper is in charge of maintaining the Jefferson Butterfly Garden, an outdoor classroom used to teach students about pollinators like monarch butterflies.
In 2011, there was a Boy Scout working on his Eagle Scout project, and they basically designed the garden, built the garden, completed the garden, but there was a couple of issues that we had. For one, there was not a water source that was close by, and then there was no one really to maintain it. It was basically decided that, you know, that we didn't want to see that happen. I certainly didn't want to see that happen. I felt like there was potential for something more, and that it could be an asset to our schools. So in 2015 is when I started working on the garden and seeing if I could revitalize it.
And revitalize she did. Thanks to her efforts, students had the opportunity to learn about gardening through the Reading Gives You Wings program.
I have taught this class several times over the years, and it's a way to educate students, to allow them to learn how to plant different things, different flowers.
Not only does the garden function as an outdoor classroom, but as a certified Monarch Way Station as well.
Well, Monarch Watch is an organization that was started to help bring awareness to the decrease in the monarch population. It helps to encourage people to start their own gardens. There are some guidelines. You have to have a water source, you have to have protective habitat, shelter for the butterflies. There needs to be a certain number of plants that butterflies are attracted to, you know, flowering type plants, and then there needs to be that food source, which is the milkweed.
Mrs. Harper says that what is most important is teaching the next generation how to preserve the environment.
I want to instill that in the kids to understand that we need those pollinators, those butterflies, the bees. We need to provide a habitat for them so that they can thrive, and we can continue to you know, benefit from that food source that they pollinate and provide for us.
The Jefferson Butterfly Garden is just one of the many examples of educators in our state going above and beyond the call of duty.
Mrs. Harper has been tending the butterfly garden for 5 years now and says that she will continue to tend the butterfly garden for many years to come. Reporting from Thomas Jefferson Elementary in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm Braden Harper, the Daily O.
Oh, there you go. Superstar.
The end of the practice is when we do all of our, like, intensity drills.
Okay.
She was going at it.
Stop. If we get them to Detroit by, let's say, like Monday the 15th. Time's right there. There we go. Yeah. Just, you can't.
Don't want to talk about it.
When you see the water tower, you're gonna make a right.
If we win this, is the one way to get to the playoffs.
I know.
Next, Dylan Walker catches us up on all things entertainment news. We have that for you now.
Hi, good evening and happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to today's episode of The Spill with Dill. For today's show, I've got some special and exciting news for you. Just this past Tuesday, we said goodbye to one of the greatest musical and rock legends of all time, Eddie Van Halen. At the age of 65, Eddie passed away after a tough fight against lung cancer. His wife, Janie, had to say, My heart and soul have been shattered into a million pieces. Our journey has not always been an easy one, but in the end we always had a connection. And former bandmate Sammy Hagar said, he was heartbroken and speechless. In other news, J Balvin is following in the footsteps of Travis Scott by collaborating with McDonald's for a limited time meal lasting until November 1st. J Balvin's meal includes a Big Mac with no pickles, medium fries with ketchup as dipping sauce, and an Oreo McFlurry. To each their own, but for me, no pickles on a Big Mac just does not sit right. Also, just a heads up that the Oreo McFlurry does come free when you order the J Balvin meal off the McDonald's app for pickup, but not for McDelivery. Up next, we have a reunion of the cast of Sister Act coming together for the third time. Whoopi Goldberg herself confirmed that this very desired sequel is in fact being currently developed. The cast and crew of Sister Act were previously hesitant to begin production of the movie because they thought it would be a bust. However, the idea coming out with a third sequel has had nothing but positive praise. Netflix recently released a new hit show, Emily in Paris, that tells the story of a young girl named Emily Cooper who takes a once-in-a-lifetime marketing promotion and has to relocate from Chicago to Paris. The first season consists of only 10 episodes, but the public and Darren Star himself are waiting for Netflix to officially renew the show for a second season. Emily in Paris seems to be very popular among young audiences. I'm just happy I finally found something good to watch this weekend. Staying on the topic of young audiences, a TikTok video of a man listening to Fleetwood Mac and drinking cranberry juice while riding a skateboard down what seems to be a highway recently went viral on both Twitter and Instagram. The video is influencing people around the world to have a more vibey and chill outlook on life. That's all the tea I have for you today, folks. Thank you so much for watching The Spill with Dill. I hope you all feel up to date on what's trending in entertainment news. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all next Friday.
Thanks, Dylan. Make sure to catch next week's Spill with Dill for more entertainment news. Next, we'll throw it to Josh Weisel with the weather. For the Daily O, I'm Trent Gibbs.
Thanks, Trent. Well, welcome back to another weather segment. I'm Joshua Weisel here in the Ocala Storm Studios. We have a few weather headlines to get to, starting with Hurricane Delta. And unfortunately, Delta is in a part of Louisiana that got hit by Laura just a few months ago. But thankfully, not as bad of a hurricane, but still, it is a strong hurricane with winds up to 110 miles an hour with a few gusts of about 125. So still a relatively strong storm, and it's starting to make its way into the Louisiana coast. So we are keeping a close eye on this storm. Our prayers are with those who are being affected by the storm. Again, hurricane warnings are in effect along the coast, and we're going to see some storm surge. We're going to see some flooding and hurricane-like conditions with this Category 2 storm making its way into Louisiana. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. And if one of you would help me, the clicker doesn't seem to be working. I apologize for that. There we go. This afternoon and evening, we're going to see temperatures in the 80s for about the next hour or so. Beautiful conditions otherwise, with temperatures in the 70s dipping into the 60s as we head deeper into this evening. Mostly clear skies. Beautiful evening for any outdoor plans, especially, next slide. Thank you. Especially if you're going to the Cowgirl soccer game tonight. Beautiful day and evening for a soccer game. They're going to face TCU tonight with some beautiful conditions. Temperatures will be in the 70s and mostly clear skies. We'll be in the 60s by about 9 p.m. So again, beautiful night for a game. Okay, so for tomorrow afternoon, again, we don't really have any sports here in Stillwater for tomorrow, but if you have any outdoor plans or any plans to watch the game outside, it is going to be a beautiful but hot day to watch the game. As you can see, temperatures across the state will be in the 80s, even some 90s over here in the Panhandle, further away from us. Light winds out of the south-southeast, and mostly clear skies. Now for Sunday, mild conditions again across the area, so not too hot, but we're still going to see temperatures almost near 90 across Oklahoma City, and we're going to see some temperatures of around 90 across portions of western Oklahoma. 88 here for a high in Stillwater, mostly clear skies, but also we're going to have some really gusty winds across the state from the south-southeast at around 10 to 21. So again, it's going to be beautiful, but keep in mind those winds. You might want to bring in some outdoor lawn furniture so it doesn't get blown around. All right, so if you've had any bad allergies the past couple of days, the allergens have been bad, but thankfully Last night they started to calm down just a little bit, and that continued into today. So the tree pollutants are at a none today, so that's some good news. Grass pond, still about a 1 out of 5, so it's not quite gone, but it is still kind of lingering in the air just somewhat. The biggest concern right now is ragweed, and that's going to be about a 3 out of 5. So if you have any issues with ragweed, this is going to be bothering your allergens, for the next couple of days or so. This is typical for this time of year. So again, you can view this at any time, 24/7 on my website, weather225.com, where I have this live allergy index and any of the forecasts that you see live 24/7. Moving on to the 7-day forecast, really no rain chances in sight for the next 7 days, except for Monday, just some slight rain chances. Not everyone's going to see this activity. Most of the week, though, we're going to see some hot temperatures for this weekend, and then we're going to see 70s by Monday. Let me step out of the way real quick so you can see the full forecast that I have in store. Again, gusty winds today, some lighter winds tomorrow, and then some really gusty winds Sunday, Monday. And then take a look at the winds on Thursday, 15 to 30. So keeping an eye, we're going to see some lower temperatures on Thursday with a possible cold front. Those will be in the 50s throughout most of the week. Otherwise, the rain chances on Monday are going to be slim. Not all of us are going to see it. So for most of the week, we're going to see some beautiful conditions. Coming up next, we have sports with Brody Myers. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to the Daily O Sports Desk. I'm Brody Myers, joined now by Ben Hutchins, the Ocala soccer beat writer extraordinaire. Ben, how are you this evening?
Brody, there's nowhere else in Stillwater, or in the United States for that matter, I'd rather be than at the Ocala desk on a Friday afternoon talking Cowgirl soccer with you.
Well, we're glad to have you. Cowgirls have a big match tonight against TCU, but first let's take a look back at what they've done so far. We're at Baylor for the last match. Talk about that one. Not a win, but not a loss.
Yeah, no, I think Baylor is kind of a unique game in this exciting Cowgirl season. It's been exciting as a media person to watch, as a fan to watch, as a coach, as a player. This whole team has been exciting. Specifically, you asked about the Baylor game last week. Not as exciting. It was 0-0, 120 minutes of scoreless soccer. But the team didn't actually play too badly. They were, expected to beat the Bears. OSU's 4th ranked in the nation, so certainly a very good team. Baylor, not, as good of a team, but they played well in Waco on last Friday night. It was 0-0. Coach Colin Carmichael of the Cowgirls said that his team played well. He just wished he could have been a little bit more clinical at the net when it came to finishing goals.
Sure. I've been around Stillwater long enough to remember the 2011, of course, football season. But people forget soccer had a really good 2011 as well. They made it to the Final Four. That actually got to be here in Stillwater. The Elite Eight did. Of course, they're not going to have an NCAA tournament this year. Have you talked to Coach Carmichael about that?
Yeah, we talked to him about it at the start of the season. And Yeah, COVID has definitely taken its toll on the soccer season, college soccer season in general. OSU has already had a first match canceled. The opening game against Bedlam, against Oklahoma, it was supposed to be, kind of the big championship game since we don't have a championship. Unfortunately, we couldn't play that. They're still maybe looking to reschedule that down the road. But yeah, as for the NCAA championship, this team is still taking it in stride. They understand that even if that's not the goal was then, just simply move over to winning a Big 12 championship as they did last year. So yeah, this team is not going to, be fazed by the lack of a postseason. And they're certainly going to go out there and play tonight, like they've been playing in years past.
Sure. No high school football game tonight, no OSU football game tomorrow. So I got a feeling some people might be tuning into Cowgirl Soccer for the first time tonight. What are some key pieces and what should they be watching for?
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you the audience right now, you guys need to be tuning in tonight. It's going to be another dandy. We play TCU, Oklahoma State TCU. TCU, they're ranked 12th in the nation. So remember, Cowgirls coming in at 4, Horned Frogs coming in at 12. So a top 15 soccer matchup right here in Neil Patterson Stadium. Going to be a lot of fun to watch. And these teams are really evenly matched, Brody. In the two kind of common opponents the two teams have played, Baylor, which I talked about earlier with you, TCU also played Baylor to a 0-0 draw. So, even score there. And the other common match against Iowa State, both teams defeated the Cyclones by a 1-goal margin. So, it's going to be a close match. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of good weather out there. It's going to be a fun night in Stillwater. If you want to get your OSU sports fix on, tonight's the night to do it.
I'm friends with TCU's public address announcer on Facebook, so I should know more about them, but you just gave me the down low on them.
Yeah.
So, Ben, thanks for joining us tonight. 7 o'clock, the Cowgirls are on Big 12 now, ESPN Plus, taking on TCU, the Horned Frogs. Their bus was right outside our journalism school as I was rolling up today. In other sports news, switching over to the football side of things, undefeated Oklahoma State is on a bye week, resting up before traveling to Waco next week. In Baylor, they've paused all football activities. Alex Dusky has more.
After 3 weeks of games, Oklahoma State is going into their first bye week of the season. The Cowboys are 3-0 and are the only undefeated team remaining in the Big 12. Although the team is finally clicking and performing at the level fans were expecting to see, they have to be careful not to let their success get to their heads.
As you start listening to people tell you that you're pretty good, or if you, we're a pretty humble organization right now. If you forget about that, that's the best way to get knocked off really quick.
The team has a great mix of experienced players and hardworking rookies this year, which makes for a healthy dynamic. One player who has stood out as a leader this season is offensive lineman Josh Sills. Sills is a graduate transfer from West Virginia and has fit in well with the Cowboys. Sills knows many players look up to and admire him, but he is more focused on doing his part on the team.
I surely appreciate that, but I look at myself as another guy that just goes out and tries to do my job the best of my ability and get my 111th done.
This week's bye will allow the team to catch their breath and get prepared for the rest of the season. Notable injuries have been quarterback Spencer Sanders and offensive linemen Hunter Anthony and Cole Birmingham. Sanders is expected to start coming out of the bye week, but unfortunately, Anthony and Birmingham's injuries will take them out of the season. Having a bye week during the pandemic has created a new issue. Should players be allowed to return home to their families and potentially bring the virus back to campus? Coach Gundy has made it clear to the team that he will not require them to stay here, but he expects them to be smart and safe.
When they go home, just try to stay away from people. I mean, you can see people and all that, but you don't get up close to people for more than, the guidelines say 15 minutes. I tell them I wouldn't be up close to anybody for more than 3 or 4. There's no reason to.
The Cowboys will face several tough opponents in the upcoming weeks. The next 3 games will tell fans how well the team can actually play and give a more concrete look at the potential postseason. Tune in next Friday for a preview of the Cowboys game against Baylor. For the Daily O, I'm Alex Dusky.
Thanks, Alex. Make sure to tune in next week as we preview the game against Baylor. It's Friday, and it's almost time for another week of NFL football on Sunday. The week got kicked off last night with the Chicago Bears beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, thanks in part to Tom Brady appearing to lose track of how many downs there are in football late in the game. But for your fantasy football players out there, Blake Broadhurst is back for another edition of the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. Take it away, Blake.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Blake Broadhurst. Let's jump right into our first segment, Stardom and Bench'em. My first starter this week is Carolina quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. It's a new-look offense in Carolina with Bridgewater at the helm, and he continues to get it done. He finished last week throwing 276 yards and 2 touchdowns. It also helps that the Panthers are playing the 0-4 Atlanta Falcons, who still has Dan Quinn at the helm for no apparent reason. My next starter is the Browns running back Kareem Hunt. It still feels weird for me to tell people to start Browns players, but with offensive mastermind Kevin Stefanski, anything is possible. Kareem Hunt has been running all over the yard to start the season, and that was with a loaded backfield with Nick Chubb. Chubb is now injured, and Hunt is primed to be the primary runner in the Browns' backfield. He finished last week with 71 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, totaling 19 points. My final start is Houston wide receiver Will Fuller. Also feels weird for me to tell people to start a Texans player based on how their season has started. Bill O'Brien is now out, and seasoned coach Romeo Crennel is now in. Look for the offense to look more explosive with Crennel at the wheel. Fuller finished with 6 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown last week for 22.8 points. It also doesn't hurt that Jacksonville's top 2 corners, DJ Hayden and CJ Henderson, are not playing this week. Fuller should have favorable matchups all game long. Here are some players you should probably leave on the bench for this weekend. First of all, you should probably bench Atlanta quarterback Matt Ryan. Ryan has been struggling to piece it all together this season, which is pretty indicative of the Falcons' performance as well. Julio Jones is also currently not slated to play this weekend, and Ryan consistently struggles when his number 1 is on the sidelines. Ryan finished last week throwing 285 yards and 0 touchdowns for only 12.4 points. The next player you should leave on the bench is Saints running back Latavius Murray. Murray had a huge week last week, finishing 14 carries for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns for 21.3 points. But don't be so quick to hop on the bandwagon. Murray had a combined 18.6 points in the first 3 weeks of the season. He is in a loaded backfield with Alvin Kamara, who is the clear number 1 back. I don't see Murray continuing his high production from last week at a consistent pace. My final must bench this week is Cincinnati wideout A.J. Green. It honestly hurts my heart to see a player of A.J. Green's caliber fall from grace. He is struggling immensely this season, and there doesn't seem to be any sign of life from him. He finished last week with only 1 catch for 3 yards for 1.3 points. As much as it hurts me to say it, it might be worth dropping him from your roster completely. He just simply is not the same wideout that we have known and loved. Now it's time for the weekly waiver wire, where I tell you who people are sleeping on in the NFL right now. My first major pickup is staying right there in Cincinnati in T. Higgins. Higgins is having an incredible rookie season, and he has really come into his own on the Bengals. Burrow is throwing a ton of passes each week, and Higgins is a top 2 target on the team. He finished last week with 4 catches for 77 yards and 13 points. As a rookie, he's only going to get better in this offense. My next major pickup is Browns running back D'Ernest Johnson. Who? That's right, Johnson had a massive week last week in the wake of Nick Chubb's injury. He finished with 13 carries for 95 yards for 9.5 points. He will continue to get touches in that backfield as long as Chubb is injured. And my final major pickup is Patriots running back Damian Harris. Harris made his debut for the team and finally lived up to the preseason hype he received. Everyone expected a big year out of him in a Patriots offense that is more run-focused than ever. Harris finished with 17 carries for 100 yards for 10 points last week. He will continue to produce out of the backfield for the Patriots. Well, that's all for my Fantasy Football Weekly Roundup. Tune in next Friday to see my weekly Stardom and Bench'em, as well as the weekly waiver wire. For the Daily O, I'm Blake Broadhurst. See you next time.
Thanks, Blake. I know I'll be enjoying watching my 4-0 Buffalo Bills. Sorry to all those Cowboy fans out there. The NFL announced that in continued efforts to enforce their mask rule for coaches on the sideline, they have given the referees permission to flag the coaches for unsportsmanlike conduct for trying to speak to them with no mask on. Many coaches have been warned and fined for this misconduct, especially since more cases of COVID-19 have begun to spring up inside the league. Teams like the Patriots, Titans, and now, as of today, the Jets, have all had positive cases on their roster. The fines are up to $100,000 for coaches and $250,000 for the teams. The NFL has strong hopes in playing out their whole season, so the league is taking any steps necessary to lower the risk for infection on their football teams. That'll do it for sports tonight. I'm Brody Myers. Thanks for tuning into the show this evening. For more Daily O, you can follow our social media at @TheDailyO_TV, and you can also watch our show on Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, and on Suddenlink Channel 112. For the Daily O, I'm Brody Myers. Good night.